Hey, everybody. We are Late Nite Snax, and we are bringing you the first ever Canada's Drag Race. We will be discussing episodes 1 and 2 this evening, and then we will be live after the shows on Thursday evenings, starting next Thursday with episode 3.
Yes.
With that being said, I am your beautiful host, Irish Melly. Right over here is the beautiful DeWanda. And
hey,
then
everybody.
Right down here is that guy. He's here.
Yeah, there he is.
The gang's all here. Well, mostly.
Oh, is Debbie here? I can't see comments today.
Not sure. Not yet.
She hasn't popped in yet.
Let's jump right into this with episode 1. We get our introduction. Oh, Katie's here. Hey, Katie.
What's up, Katie?
Hi, Katie.
We get our introduction to the ladies, their workroom entrances.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Who were you guys most taken aback by in a good way?
I'm not connecting with any names just yet. What's weird about this season is it wasn't any one individual. I mean, there's certain individuals that reminded me of other people, but what took me aback the most was the fact that how old school this was.
Yes.
I mean, this really was old school. I was like, wow, we're like in season 2 and season 3 of
and I like that. I like that because this is the first season ever. So it's like, it's nice to kind of go back to the roots for it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that was it. But I tell you, for some reason, I don't know what it is with this cast. And I had the same problem with UK until a couple episodes. I'm just not connecting faces and names yet.
Yeah.
So I would have to get a cheat sheet out of what they wore.
Right.
But there was nothing overly elaborate.
When you memorize who it is and then they take off the makeup and it's like, wait, who's who?
They didn't have they didn't have huge shocking entrances like they go over the top of RuPaul now trying outmatch each other every year, and there wasn't anything like
there was a few lemon entrance. My God, what was that big like duvet they said? This big blanket that she was bringing in, but it looked glamorous. It looked great. I loved it.
The looks, I'm saying, like their big old huge speech and tags and one-liners and doing stunts. Yeah, they didn't do a ton of that. It wasn't as elaborate as, which is great. I love the scaling back of it so much. It just shows the audience how overproduced RuPaul's Drag Race is right now.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and then we get our new judges.
Oh God! See, this is where we're gonna have a problem this year.
You don't like the judges?
Man, Stacey, Jeffrey, and Brooklyn Heights.
I like Stacey. I've always liked Stacey. I think Brooklyn Heights got cheated because Brooklyn Heights should have been given the RuPaul role, and that's where she should have stayed, and that's what her whole role should have been. Because when she's on the judging table, she's doing absolutely fine in that kind of persona. It's Jeffrey. He has got to go. He is.
You don't like him?
You don't like him?
Terrible. It's almost unwatchable for me. I noticed it on the second episode.
I think he's there more for the viewers and for the participants. Just for
he is putting on this big elaborate impersonation of RuPaul that is so obnoxious that I can't listen to judging. It's like when he goes on his cadence, everything about the words he says, how he delivers it, the amazing. I'm like, well, be yourself, dude. We know you don't talk like that. Ru talks like that, and it's not even like it slips out. It's forced every single time they say something, and I don't like the fact that the judges are the center judge. The Ru seat is being given to the special guest judge. They should have just put Brooklyn there. Because Brooklyn would have been fine.
Well, Brooklyn's there when the special guest judge isn't.
We haven't not had a special guest judge. Each episode has had one.
Yeah.
Brooklyn just needs to carry that same seat. But they're not focusing on the judges. And that's what I like. You only see the judges
they're not focusing on them.
Yeah. So I like that. And
then we had their first challenge. They had like the mystery boxes, but they were each with a different theme for Canada.
Yeah, and that's an old school tradition. First challenge, RuPaul.
And so then we're supposed to create some high fashion with these boxes.
Well, they did a photo shoot first, which used to be the staple. That used to be the number one challenge in every season of RuPaul until about season 10. the Christina Aguilera season. I think that was the first season they didn't do the photo challenge right in the beginning.
Yeah.
And
I thought the photo shoot was great. I loved the photo
me
shoot.
too. It was so good to see it back.
And I love when I was looking at it and I was watching them. I'm like, oh my god, how are we going to get something good out of this? As soon as they turn that fan on, it's like, oh my god, they're going to blow off and
ruin everything.
Right.
Because of All Stars, it took me right back to season 2 with Juju B during that Gone with the Wind photo challenge, and she's blowing in the wind instead of and Juju B's funny faces and the clip she was making is hilarious. Yeah. It took me right back there.
But the photos turned out amazing. I thought they looked
they
great. I mean, obviously, with a professional photographer, they're going to, but they really did. I really enjoyed the first challenge there with the photo shoot.
It's great to have it back.
It was. And then we got into
and I also like the fact that we have all the bickering already. They didn't skimp on any of that. It's already started.
And it's because they're not trying to structure stories, and they're not trying to overproduce the judges in these little skits and plays. They're just letting it happen. And it's so old school. It's so great.
Well, that's like was it Ilona? Walked in and basically just said, hey, I'm a bitch and I'm gonna be here to be a bitch. And I'm like, all right, we know where the drama's about to start.
See, this season, their entrances in their first couple of weeks with each other has allowed them to be the queen's personality. It's allowed them to be, instead of so wrapped up in the politics of RuPaul's Drag Race, it just allowed them to be free, cartoony. The whole thing it's fun. It was fun to watch again.
Yeah.
Until Jeffrey opens his mouth.
It's back to its original roots, which is nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, and then we get the runway looks. And I wasn't too impressed by anything, really.
But
although I did really like Lemon's look, the sports theme. I know that she ended up in the bottom and had to lip sync for her life.
I thought as a whole,
but I thought it
construction was better. Yeah, I thought as a whole the construction of the cast was better than a lot of the constructions of the makeshift challenge of earlier RuPaul Drag Races. I thought they really kind of had it together a little bit about how they were constructing things. It was still crafty and whatever, but it was kind of more put together as a whole.
Yes. So then, like I said, then Lemon and Juice Box ended up in the bottom too, and had to lip sync.
Well, raise that Lemon Juice Box.
Lemon and Juice Box.
Very unique names here in Canada. There's some very unique names. But
this lip sync, can we say, my God, for a first lip sync, this was phenomenal.
First lip sync was fantastic. Last night
it really was. There was high energy. There was lots of, and especially with Juice Box, when they started the critiques after the high fashion, she started to have an anxiety attack and actually needed to take a moment. So I wasn't expecting her to recover as quickly as she did, and that was great. But can we also mention real quick during the critiques, Kind's attitude? Now I'm hoping that this.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I was hoping this would turn around because overall she seemed like an interesting queen. Like this could be an interesting person.
Is this the Indian one?
No, that's Priyanka.
Okay, I gotta get the names.
I will. The one who got the gold box. The gold digger box and was all like, oh, I'm winning this challenge. Oh, that's who won the photo shoot was Kind.
There's one in every crowd.
I liked the presence when she first came out and the energy, but then it just kind of got too cocky.
Yeah.
And to snap back at the judges during their critique the way she did, I was like, oh, you're lucky if you don't go home right now, girl.
And what's interesting is if you don't know Stacey, Stacey's a real high-end model. She's been a lot of these judges. Yeah, she's been a lot of these judges. She's the new Michelle Visage of this because Stacey, she's super, super sweet, super matronly until you cross her, and she will rip you to shreds. I love Stacey as a judge. It was nice to see her.
And that's what I was waiting for. I'm like, oh my God, like, is she about to clap back at her and be like, listen? And they did say something to her about, her snapping back at the critiques. They were very gentle with it. And I think it was kind of like, hey, we get this is the first one. We get that you're here. You want to win. But you need to understand that you need to take criticism in order to grow from this to win this championship.
And Brooke seems like she's not playing either.
That's what
Brooke seems
This
like
show's
she's taking
about
this very
you.
seriously.
Yes.
You need to take criticism, and you need.
You're breaking up really bad, Dawn.
Yep. Do the remix, the '80s remix.
I know.
The robot.
Unfortunately, we all are on this one. So
yeah, something is this hour.
I'm fine. I have no problem.
I haven't had any problems yet either.
But so then we, like I said, we get to the lip sync, and it is Lemon and Juice Box. It was a phenomenal lip sync, and then Juice Box was sent home. She was sent to sashay away.
yeah,
I liked her too. She left a little good impression.
She did, and she
she
seemed
was cute.
genuine.
Mm-hmm. See, this is the type of cast that even though it's really hard to grab a hold of them right in the beginning, we're going to know them really well by the time this is over.
Yeah.
Because they're focusing on them, and they're focusing on
Right.
their personality traits, because we get into the second episode.
They are as of now.
Right.
Let's hope it stays that way.
Well, look at the second episode. The story that we got in the second episode was like,
well, let's
whoa,
talk
shit.
about that. Then we jump into episode 2. Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, episode 2, they come in very, very RuPaul, typical thing, the mirror, the wiping of, the same traditions. And then, well, this conversation didn't happen until later, until they were getting ready. So I don't remember where the entrance, I don't think there's any point yet when they came back in that they were talking about.
Well, no, they were just talking about, the message that Juice Box left, and
and then they got the,
that was pretty much it.
What was the mini challenge? They didn't have a mini challenge, right? They didn't have a mini challenge. They just got the introduction of the main play, the main little video.
The mini challenge, they had a mini challenge. I can't remember the name of it.
Why did I miss that? Do you remember what it was?
It was like a ballerina. It was like a ballerina challenge.
How can I miss that?
It was like a ballerina challenge.
Brooke is a professionally trained ballerina. Or ballet dancer, not ballerina, but ballet dancer.
And was talking about it the whole time. How
and
she's
so
professionally trained, been at the most prestigious dance school in New York.
Yes. And it was funny that Brooke was kind of bringing the challenge, like, if you want to be a drag queen, you got to be a ballerina, kind of thing. It's like, even though the two don't go hand in hand, it was just cute. So they had to do their little ballet steps, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, these girls, some of the uniqueness that they brought to it, and it was all like, they knew why the challenge was there, and it was just to be tongue-in-cheek and to have fun, make it their own. And that's what they did. Nobody was taking it over the top. Nobody was taking it like themselves too seriously. So it was fun. It was good to see those type of little mini challenges again. And then we get the introduction to the main challenge, which is our little storytime acting challenge that they do every year. And oh my God, I don't know about y'all. Come on. Mm-hmm. This was painful. This was pulling teeth, pulling nails, cut my eyelids off, painful. It was hard
I didn't think
to
it was
watch.
That painful.
Oh God. I was just like, I was calling her. I was just like, come on, y'all. Jeez, Louise.
I thought the second group, personally, I thought the second group was more painful than the first. The first group was okay. The second group for me was very painful.
But again, I tell myself, this is
I liked the first group better.
Almost like a reboot, a fresh start. These are, you may have years of school type of acting challenges. I was like, God. But I watched it, and I stuck with it. I was there with them. And some of the characterizations were okay in the pieces, but as a whole. And part of that was the scripts that were written, they were so bad. And I think they were bad on purpose, obviously, but it was weird. Anyway, so in the workroom while they're getting ready for this acting challenge, there was 2 teams. As usual, I don't know the significance of the breaking up the teams, doesn't matter. But the conversation that happens in the workroom while they're getting ready was in the Bahamas. And I didn't know this. As a gay man, I did not know this. And apparently in many of the islands, it's like this still to this day. Being gay is an executional, you're executed for being gay in these islands.
Offense.
Right.
And it is just an atrocity that instead of going to trial or doing it, and I was mortified listening to this going, wow, we really do, as much as we take for granted what luxuries we have here or in the Western world, I could not imagine the horrors of somebody living through that. You get home, get out of your car, people start shooting you.
Yeah.
And you can't go anywhere because they came to you.
Right.
And it's like, oh my God, it's just their heads. But she got asylum. But she's one person. They got asylum. How many people? As I'm speaking, how many people are gunned down in the Bahamas for this?
Right. Yeah. It's very true.
Is I can't wrap my mind around the humanity of that. It's the same thing as like women being castrated and stuff in Africa. I can't understand the humanity behind that. It's absolutely crazy to me.
It's all a control.
She told the story. It was very moving.
It's control.
Yeah,
it's a power.
So
power
we
play.
we're jumping right into this series with these type of personal stories to these girls, and it's nice to see that nothing's this big overcontrol produced. Duels to fighting storylines.
Well, in the first episode, they were discussing their sobriety as well, and we started talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first episode, we started getting some good backstory on things they've been through.
Yeah, it really reminds me of like season 2, season 3 when they would talk about this kind of stuff, in the workroom. We've had that in later seasons, but later seasons seem to me that it has become so formulaic with reality TV. They want to create a story every episode, and I talk about this in our reviews. I'm like, okay, this is the story they're crafting. You can see it here. They're not doing that with this, and they didn't do that early with seasons. They're not creating what they want the audience to see. They're letting the audience see what's happening, and that's really cool. It's really, really cool to see.
Yeah, it is.
Horrific to learn, but I'm glad I learned it because I was like, wow, Jesus. Right. So then we get the acting challenge.
Nice to be informed.
And the runway challenge,
you don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah, exactly. We should know these things in the world. We should know how other human beings are treating other human beings. We absolutely should know.
There's places where they don't want you to know. That's why, because they don't want things to change.
Look what's happening in China. We don't know what's going on with the population control.
Yeah,
I mean it's crazy. Anyway, we can go on that. That's for days. But
so then we get into the challenge,
the video challenge, the acting challenge, if you can so call it. And I think the storylines and the scripts and who was given each part was just so bad that they didn't really have a lot of maneuver room. I mean, the ridiculousness of the scripts were like, usually they're campy, but this was just like almost stupid. It was like, okay, come on. It was about forefathers, and he's almost kind of playing on this whole Hamilton thing, and who got the right to vote, and when women suffragists got the right to vote, but it's all about drag queens getting the right to vote, and a lot of the plot lines didn't quite make any sense. Some of the girls' parts were non-existent in the role, and others were. And what was with the whole brain surgery thing at the end? It was like some weird shit.
I preferred the first group over the second group easily.
Yeah, what was the first group? The first group we had the girl at the park bench.
Yeah, that was all it was. The whole hospital thing, that was confusing. I had a hard time with one, so
I like a lot of it didn't make sense.
It was all over the place.
Yeah.
It was basically I think that the themes that I got from it at the end was history is revisionist history. Somebody else created or got the right or did whatever, and then somebody else took credit for it. That's kind of what the theme of the thing was. So like when the surgeon, she took credit for this other person's work.
Right.
Anyway, going back and looking at it and knowing how it played out, it might be funnier the second time when you know just how it is. Because when they played that for the judges, they were laughing like that was Saturday Night Live. Like that was the greatest thing they ever seen. I was just like, oh Lord.
Yeah, so maybe it's got better playback value later.
But then we have the runway challenge. The first group. No, they were judged individually. Yeah. And who won?
They weren't judged as a group.
What?
Who won that challenge?
They didn't know who won the first one. Who won the first one?
I only saw the end of the episode.
I don't know their names, so really I'm not connecting with it. What terrible reviews are we? We don't even know who freaking won. Well, if it's in the comments, tell us who won each episode. Obviously, the wins
us a break. This is our first Canada's Drag Race. Okay,
well, I'll get it down.
We'll get it down.
Start following it. I got things going on. But I'll get it down. So, the runway theme was.
Their runway theme was their first drag.
This is a great runway. This is a lot of fun. I like challenges like this, because, and I thought all the girls did really, really well based off of their photographs. of what they were representing. I thought even what's her face who did the Ursula, I thought that was even great. The judges ripped her shreds for it, but I thought it was great. I thought they all took their original look and advanced it.
I think again back to Kine is the reason that they critiqued her the way they did. They wanted to see if she was going to behave the same way after they told her not to behave that way.
Yep.
And it was kind of like, we're going to see where you stand and if you can take the criticism.
Mm-hmm.
So
first impressions are huge.
Yes,
first
they are.
Impressions are big,
yes,
and that was the first impression she gave to those judges.
That's the whole point of the show. That's why we have the workroom entrances. It's your first impression of someone.
And she didn't do great. She did better, but she didn't do great taking criticism because Stacey was even spoon feeding her some questions to see if she would have a more constructive response than just defensive. And so she's the one that ended up going home.
Yes.
That was a really, really did you guys take it crude or take it sensitive when she told the other girl, "You need to stop crying. This is my moment"?
Yes. Oh yeah. And I know she was trying to be funny. She was trying to be funny.
Was she? Okay.
She was trying to be funny. And I get that. But it was in the moment and the way it came across because of the moment.
It threw me.
It was rather crude, like you said.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it threw me. I was like, did she really just say that?
Have the gall to say that.
It seemed really tacky. And again, it goes back to what we were saying about Kine being just overly cocky.
And it's like the cry moments.
There's a fine line between confidence and cocky, and I say this all the time with these shows. There's a fine line between confidence and cocky, and it's great to have confidence, and you want to have high confidence, or you end up as one of those first ones home, or you end up as the one that quits and votes yourself out, which we have seen, many a times. But then there's the cocky, where you're not taking the criticism. You're not helping your fellow contestants. You're there all about yourself. And yes, it's a competition, but it's also a sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're only there for yourself, you're not going to go far, because then what if they shake it up like we just saw on All Stars 5, where now the other girls are voting. And like we said, we have this survivor aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know if they are going to turn this around at some moment and say, well, so it's like you don't want to make enemies from walking in the door.
Yeah. Not only with the other girls with the show, it's if you become in the limelight with this franchise, those people out there will eat you alive. This fandom is brutal.
Yes, they will.
And so look what happens, to Trixie Mattel and what happens to Roxy Andrews, and it's like, what's her face from season 4? Fault with Sharon Needles. Anyway, the ones that just act really, 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 really cocky like that, and they eat them alive. It's just absolutely miserable for their fandom, on the outside. And be careful. This is a bitter fandom. They're passionate, really have to. And they're very involved, and you got to do what you got to do. So she goes home.
Yeah.
And this was the episode where I really started to notice Jeffrey. And I tell you, now that I pointed it out, a lot of people are going to notice it. It's not only what he's saying, it's the cadence, it's the temperament, it's the tone,
it's the way he says
the chosen word. Oh God, it's like a really determined, forced RuPaul impersonation with every word, and I just want to scream at the TV. And then who was that special guest judge? He was just as annoying too. He was trying to do the same thing. They were like trying to outdo each other. I was like, just put Brooke in the center chair. Stop with this nonsense. But again, it's only right at the end because they're not focusing on the judges, which is nice. I'll take that. I'll take the other 35, 40 minutes without the other judges in there every 5 minutes like they are right now on All Stars.
I'm looking forward to see how well this season's actually going to go, because
well, there's two things, and I don't remember how UK aired. I think it aired very similarly. It aired obviously on UK stations and then on WoW Presents, and the UK did really, really well. So I think with Canada's is going to be the same. I think Canada's going to do really well.
There's a really, really, really big drag scene in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There really is.
Well, and also,
Most
and also
you
the fact that
wouldn't think Canada just because you think cold and you just think, like
the
snow
only
and things like that. But there's actually this huge following, this huge
Mhm.
cult following of drag.
the only difference between UK and Canada was UK had Rue and Michelle on there.
Yes.
So it was very
Well,
much
we
a
got
season
Rue
of
on a
RuPaul's.
TV real quick.
Yeah.
But we don't have any
Yeah,
live
that's
Rue.
yeah.
And
But we
who
still
knows?
get
I mean, I would like to think that maybe we will for the finale.
It still feels like RuPaul's Drag Race to me because we get the same intro. We get the runways that feel the same way. The outro feels the same way. The runway catwalks to a Ru song. So it feels we don't need Ru on there every single second. It still feels like the same show.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to Lady Di last night, and Lady Di's a big fan of RuPaul. Kisses Lady Di, get better. And she was saying, you know what? I don't miss her. I don't miss RuPaul. I'm having just as much fun with that. So, so it's nice to see. And RuPaul's gotten a little crazy. I'm sorry. RuPaul's little sticks and stunts and stuff on the judges' table has gotten a little weird. It's a little out of hand.
Well, I think that's bound to happen when you're 12 seasons in and 5 seasons in, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many of each show? I mean, there's a lot of shows, and you've done so many of them. You can only do the same quips and jokes and everything so many times.
Exactly. So I talk about, like, are we at the point of saturation? Are we at the point where it's like,
that's a
we
good
need
question.
to roll this back a little bit?
Good question.
Because we've gone mainstream. I knew as soon as we went mainstream on VH1, it was going to be different. Because mainstream is very different than being on Logo. Very, very different.
Right.
Or being on WoW Presents.
Well, with that being said,
on to the day. I forgot.
2
days in a row. On to the day. I need a white piece of paper. All right. So since we didn't have one last week, this is our one to the day is by, remember the Order of the Phoenix? Remember him in the movie? This is Mundungus Fletcher's wand. Probably stolen. Mundungus Fletcher was the little bald man that would go steal people's stuff. He was like a little thief, but he was on the good guy's side.
Okay.
This Mundungus Fletcher, he's got this jewel in the middle, so he wasn't of that well. So this one's probably stolen. It's the one that he used. So it's that character. That's him, Mundungus Fletcher. There you go.
Very nice.
Wand of the day. And our special announcement about the wand call may just be coming true. Stay tuned.
Yay, stay tuned. Guys.
More.
Yes.
Well, all. That has been our show. We are Late Night Snacks. I am Irish Melly.
Bye.
This over here is DeWanda. This is that guy.
Bye.
We would love it if you guys could thumbs up this stream. Let us know your ideas for coverage for Canada's Drag Race and who you think is going to win and who looks like a front runner. Please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't, because we would love to see you guys back, and hit that notification bell so you're notified every single time we go live or upload a video, which we do very often. And we cover many different topics and genres.
I just did the bird sound and Boca jumped out of his skin. Poor thing. Oh, God. It's funny.
So with that being
go home, everybody.
We love you.
It's too late.
We love you for being here. It is time to sashay away.
Away.
Good night.
Knox.